Greetings and welcome to another edition of Montpelier Connection. I'm State Representative Mike Mrowicki from the Windham-4 District of Putney and Dummerston. We are between the last year's session and the 2026 session, so we are starting to look at some of the issues that we'll be looking at next year and that we've looked at this year. In the session that just passed, we did a lot of work on education funding, and what I'm hoping to talk about today with the two principals from the towns I represent is about education. Mm-hmm. So I'm pleased to have as our guests the principal from Putney, John Sessions, and the principal from the Dummerston School, Julianne Eagan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Well, I certainly support education and understand the importance of it. What I like to tell people is when they start talking about the costs of education, I say, well, you know, the reality that I see is that the kids of today are going to be taking your blood pressure tomorrow. Right. Don't you want them to be able to do it well?
Yeah.
And I said that at a meeting in Putney once, and Anna Oliver raised her hand and said, "That's me."
Yeah.
She said, she's our primary care provider in Putney now. She started at Putney Central School with my daughter, Grace. And there's the investment. So we have a primary care provider from our town, from our school right now. And it's an investment in our future. And I hope people can see that and see that there's a big picture here. And I hope we can expand on that picture today. Julianne, I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about you, your school, what's happening.
Sure.
How long have you been an educator, and what's your...
Gosh, yes. Well, I joke that I've been an educator since the last century.
Okay.
So I came to this district in 1999 as an English and social studies teacher at BUHS. And really excited today. This is my 7th year at Dummerston School as principal. And you know, I have stayed in this district because I really feel like this district has really high expectations for staff and students and really believes that all students can excel when they are getting what they need, when they're getting a high quality program, when they're getting expert instructors and they're in a community that really knows them and cares for them. And when I came here from originally starting my career in Massachusetts, I felt that. I really could feel that in the staff who greeted me in that very first year when I was a young teacher. And that's always been true. You know, I've always felt that people in this district keep the students at the center. And so I've learned so much, I've grown so much as a professional in this district. I believe this district really supports professional learning among the educators who work here. So John and I continue to learn so much in our roles as principals together. We're constantly learning professionally and growing as a system, individually, together as a team. And so at Dummerston, you know, I just see that I came to Dummerston School 7 years ago and I saw that energy. Like Putney Central, we are a pre-K to 8 school. We have about 167 students, so single strand, one classroom per grade. And it's an incredible opportunity, and I think something that Vermont can bring to this conversation about how high quality education is that we have these two small schools in these towns next door to one another who get to see students through 10 grades of their education and get to see this growth from age 4 to 14 and really have the honor to work with students and families to support their children in really reaching their highest potential. It's really an incredible opportunity. And, you know, now that I've entered my 7th year, it's amazing because the students who were kindergartners when I started in pre-K, they're middle schoolers now.
Yeah, you're almost the same generation.
You know, and we went, you know, we had a pandemic together and we went through a lot. But it's amazing to see the growth and also to see how our system works together to support that growth. It doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't happen by accident. It is like, you know, by design.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you. John?
Yeah, sure. I would echo a lot of what Julianne has shared. My own personal journey, this is my 17th year in schools in general and across a variety of different roles, from a paraeducator to a coach to a teacher, an assistant principal, and now in my 4th year as principal of Putney Central School. For me, sort of my journey to education was one from a lens of sort of social change, where teaching for me and being an educator is the most direct path to really impacting society and a culture, both at the local level, but also at the national and global level. And one of the things to add to our sort of appreciation for our district here and our communities is that we're in a district that really values that impact and that sort of connection between school and community and culture in our towns. And I feel very fortunate to be in a place where we can really see the impact of that day in and day out of supporting our students and supporting our families and working with them to really raise a generation of kids.
Yeah.
And it's a real honor and privilege to do that.
Well, first of all, thank you both for your work and your dedication.
Yeah.
Because these are our kids, and they're all our kids.
Yes.
We want to see them succeed, because then
For sure.
we succeed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk these days about education costs and then about performance for some people, what we get for our money.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit to how you see that going in terms of student performance, and how are our kids doing in your schools?
Yeah. I'll go first and then chime in, Julianne.
Yeah.
I think there is, there's a tenor around the state of Vermont of sort of questioning the cost of education, right? And that's certainly in your realm as a legislator. And I think there's the piece of reworking the financing system of schools. Our work is around what are we getting as a result of the investment that we're making in schools, and sort of what are those outcome markers that we want to see for our students and for our communities. And that's sort of, across our district, we've seen a lot of really significant growth, I think, in the outcomes of our schools. And when we talk outcomes, we're not just saying academic achievement and academic performance, but we're talking about measures of school climate, right? Or a student's sense of belonging, or things like that are equally important to how they perform on end of year, academic achievement tests. And so we talk about this a lot, sort of across our district, and then Julianne, between the two of us, and it's really inspiring to see really significant growth in our schools and as a district.
Yeah. When I worked as an after-school provider, we used the developmental assets as a basis for a lot of what we tried to put it in our programming and give our kids. And I think it's a good way to help understand what kids need to thrive. And beyond just academic.
I agree.
And we can talk a little bit more later about social emotional learning, but you want to speak to student performance?
Sure.
Also?
I think it's important to remember. One point to keep in mind, I think, when we think about the investment in schools is what we're aiming to do as a school, and a school community here in Vermont and in other states as well, is really ambitious, as it should be. We are educating our children for the 21st century, for citizenship, for really being, like you mentioned, prepared not only for a career but to be engaged people in a really complex world. And the standards for students, whatever standards you look at, if you look at the Next Gen Science standards or the C3 framework for social studies, for example, they're high level. They're exciting. And when we invest in that process with students, we're looking at really significant outcomes that are going to impact everyone's future. So it's important to remember that, because I think that it's not so much that students are so different today, but our mission, our goal has evolved, as it should. We want to invest in our young people. They're entering a complex world. And so what we know, based on research and also which is what we see day to day, is when we give students what they need to learn. And this is not, this isn't a mystery. We actually know from research in the field of education, we know what students need in order to learn effectively. And it turns out when you provide students with what they need, all students can thrive. And our aim is to educate all students, and all means all. And so that goal, is noble, and it's important, and it's something for us to keep in mind as we think about what we're doing together in supporting our public schools.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because at the turn of the century, there became a real emphasis on high stakes testing. And almost that was the alpha and the omega of what was happening in our schools. But there's so much more that kids need. And I like the analogy that Carolyn Oliver has used, that when a plane takes off from Boston and starts heading to California, they test all the way across the country to make sure they're on track. The key is what they do with the testing. And I think similarly, what we do with our testing. And does that feel like it's on track as to seeing beyond just test scores, and it's a tool?
It does, and I think one of the things that I think both of our schools can exemplify is that, high stakes testing it's not irrelevant. It does tell a story about the health of the school, but I think that it's kind of a lagging indicator of so many other elements of a highly functional school in terms of student engagement level, in terms of student sense of belonging, how much they feel a part of what's happening there. And I think one of the things that's exciting in both of our schools right now is we are starting to see those results come through in that academic testing, where between both Dummerston and Putney is among the highest performing schools in the state of Vermont, which is pretty exciting. But that's the result not just of high quality instruction in our classrooms, or it's the complete picture of a sort of holistic approach to education. And it's exciting to start to see that show up in all different measures that we look at of school success.
And what we know is that academic achievement, as you mentioned, is not separated out from social emotional health of children. And so when we think about the design of our school day and our school year and the instruction that happens, there isn't this okay, over here separately we're going to teach you social emotional skills. It is, it has to be woven together, for a student to thrive as a mathematician. They need to be able to work together with their classmates, solve problems together, engage in teamwork, ask questions, be able to persevere, have self-confidence. All those pieces are woven into what we do every day, with intention, with design, which takes expertise. I mean, our staff are trained experts in how to do that. And so, yes, the academic test is one measure, but as you mentioned, John, it says a lot more than what you can understand by just looking at a number.
There are aspects of the political scene that creep their way, or sometimes push their way, into our school systems, and not so much in Vermont, but we're certainly seeing in other states. And but the role of parents in education is something that is spoken to a lot. And how do you see that as an integral part of what's happening for your students?
I could start with talking a little bit about that. It's been so nice to be on the other side of COVID. And to really welcome and invite families to partner with us in our whole school community, the health of our whole school community, not just what's happening inside, but really what's going on outside the school day, in our town, on our campus. at Dummerston, we've been really working with families on volunteering with us regularly, working with students outside at recess or coming into the building and running clubs. We have been working with our leadership council, and we have something called the family involvement team. Their mission is really to increase families' sense of belonging at our school. And I feel like for Dummerston and Putney, that is so important because the school is the center of the community. It is the place we want to come together as community members and be together, not just those who are currently in our school, but also alum and families who, might, not have had direct interaction with the school. Our campus is a place where we want people to be present, to feel welcome, to take a walk on the walking trail, to use the pavilion, to explore the gardens, because this is an incredible community, and we have multiple generations there, under this one roof. And so having that center of your community and that ability to work together in person is something that we're all lacking in other areas of our life. Having that in-person connection, that relationship. That's just been such a wonderful development the last few years as we've kind of settled back into a more typical schedule.
And I know Putney has that tradition also of being a community center. So. And one exciting thing that is new for us this year is we partnered with the University of Vermont to receive a pretty substantial grant to further our work as a community school. And so the goal of that work is to really just sort of strengthen and extend those ties between the school and not just active families, as Julianne was saying, but really the community as a whole. And so looking at, really what are the needs of our community and what are the ways that we can connect people who are engaged in the school to meet those needs and advance that work. And it's pretty exciting. And it's really, it's not lost on us sort of the benefit of having a community that is engaged there and wants to be involved. That's a pretty remarkable gift as a school to sort of be surrounded by that. One of the things that is different from when many of us went to school is you have preschool now. Can you speak a little bit to the importance of bringing kids into the educational system at schools? At those ages?
I can go on and on about the value of universal pre-K and the impact that has on the community, but I think what has sort of exacerbated the need for that is that academic demands have sort of filtered down to younger grades. And so kindergarten of today is not of kindergarten when I was a kid or when any of us are a kid. And there are demands on 5 and 6-year-olds in a kindergarten classroom, and so what I see is having a pre-K environment for students to start their school experience really sets the tone for having a sort of high level of care, establishing really strong sort of teacher-student connections, building a really positive orientation to school, and establishing that foundation to really start well. And it's been really impactful for us, and I'm sure you can say the same, Julianne.
This is our 7th year having public pre-K at Dummerston. What we've noticed is some families, it actually increased our enrollment overall for our lower grades, which is really exciting. So families really jump at the opportunity to come into the school community early. They just want to be a part of it. They're actually waiting for kindergarten to start. And so for those families who might have chosen an independent school, when we opened our public pre-K, they came to Dummerston and, as a result, developed that relationship, that connection. And our pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade classrooms, really increased in enrollment. which is wonderful. So
Yeah.
we expanded our relationships with multiple families in the community. Those families connect with each other earlier because pre-K, it's the experience of the children, but also the families being able to have that community and connection. Being a parent of a young child can be isolating, has its own
Especially in
challenges.
Vermont.
Yep. And so having being able to enter a system where you're going to be embraced, we're going to be connecting you with other people who care about you. We are going to know you all the way through your child's experience. I think really supports the whole family and the whole community.
And what I would add to that is there's a wealth of research that shows that the gaps in student performance that exist on the first day of kindergarten persist all the way through, and it is time consuming and it's costly to try to make up those gaps. And so the earlier that we can connect with students and families, the better. And so we're part of our community schools work. We're talking about what can we do birth to age 4 and how can we really establish those connections, as early as possible.
I'm going to use that to segue into social emotional learning. And because I think at the early grades, that's especially, we're not requiring kids to take French at preschool. Not yet. But I think there's a recognition how important that is. I have been listening to some people, Jonathan Haidt is one person who is talking about, especially for boys, how important it is. There's an entrepreneur and professor at NYU, Scott Galway, who's a very popular podcaster. But he talks about how important it is for social emotional skills, and that business people now are looking for that much more than is this someone at the top of their grade with a 4.0 average, that having those soft skills are so much more important. And that when I think of what's happening in preschool, play is certainly structured work for kids and very important. But that guidance comes from what's happening in the social emotional skills. And can you speak to that, starting in preschool, but throughout the grades of how that happens, what you see and what kids need in that realm?
I mean, I think what we know about learning in general is that if you don't have the social emotional component, you're not going to get the academic outcome you want to get. So some of the emphasis on social emotional learning today reflects just the wider acceptance of that research. We know that when students have relationships, when they feel a sense of ownership of the community, when they feel a sense of autonomy, when they feel that they're challenged but not overwhelmed, when they're excited to come to school, when they have fun at school, they're going to be more engaged in that environment, and you're going to see all of the learning outcomes increase. And so, as I was mentioning before, it's not so much this separate curriculum over here of SEL skills. It's actually a framework for learning. We talk in schools about this idea of go slow to go fast. When I was in school, it was just go fast. And without the attention to these other elements that we know make a huge difference for students in their learning. And so if you were left behind, you were left behind, right? And I think what we know now is it is possible for us to create an environment, a responsive student-centered environment where all children can be successful if we have the knowledge and the expertise to implement that. So that does take staffing, it does take experts, it takes training. And when you have those things in place, you'll see both happen. You'll see both students who have those social emotional skills you're talking about, or soft skills, and also have these academic proficiencies that we want to see.
Yeah, I would say, this is an area that I think our whole district really shines too. I would say, Mike, I'm a parent of 3 kids in our district. I have a 6th grader and 4th grade twins who all go to Green Street School, and they're all very different and they have very different associations with school, but every one of them goes into a place where they feel confident that there's something for them every day when they walk through the door, and for each of my kids, that's a different thing. But the end result is it develops confidence in themselves that they have something to contribute, and when we talk about structuring our schools, that's our goal, right? That every student who walks through that door walks through feeling like they have something to contribute to the community that day. Right? And that's when a school is successful. Right? And when they don't, that's a crisis, for that kid and that family and for our school. And that's what we have to figure out, But I think it's really critically important. And as Julianne said, you really cannot have academic achievement or those results that you want to see without having that underlying confidence or sense of self or sense of purpose. And it's really critical.
So that leads me to a question I get often from people who don't have anyone in school right now. As they drive by the school, they look at the parking lot and say, why do they need so many staff people there? Is that tied into what you're talking about now?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, it's just staffing patterns have really changed in schools. And some of that is needs of community needs of our community have changed, and so schools are sort of in the front lines, and I say that schools are really, oftentimes communities show their needs through their kids, and in schools we see that, and so we staff in a way now where we both have social workers in our school, as does every school in our district. Behavior support staff are more of a common thing now than before, and I think, as Julianne was saying earlier, I think that really is reflective of our commitment to excellence, right? And really viewing all of a student, right? Not just their academic programming. I would say.
Schools are doing so much with that investment. I think is important for people to understand. Schools are doing work that maybe we weren't doing in other years, and schools have taken on a lot of other roles and done well, because we are, you think about an organization that's prepared to deliver services. We see children every day. We see families. We're actually, if you're thinking about who's positioned, right, to kind of implement some services for families and to provide that support. Well, gosh, schools are. We're seeing everybody every day. We have a system in place, and so it's kind of a smart place to put your investment, because we have that contact time with students and families on a daily basis.
And you mentioned, I'll add, you mentioned Jonathan Haidt, right? And his sort of landmark book called The Anxious Generation, right, gets into, like, it's hard to be a kid right now in this day and age, and I think the more that we can equip our schools to really be as supportive as possible, I think the better off we'll be.
I shared that quote earlier from meeting with a group of students where this 14-year-old told me, you might know what it was like to be 14 for you, but you don't know what it's like to be 14 today.
Right.
It's a very different world to be 14 in. And that leads me to cell phones. Jonathan Haidt talks about this a lot. I forget the name of the woman who collaborates with him too, but I just read an article by her about the reality of what she calls dumb phones.
Jean Twenge.
And the idea that this is technology that we've put on the table, and we're all wrestling with how to use it in a productive way and moderate it. And I think in some ways kids are helping us see that. But last year the legislature passed the phone-free schools bill and the kids code bill, which is another thing. We're not going to get into that, but a really important thing to recognize how predatory some of the people out there, businesses even on the internet, are predatory on our children. And we, as adults, we need to protect them. You started the phone-free schools before the mandate, did you as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how's that going?
It's great.
Yeah.
I would advocate, I'm a strong advocate for phone-free school. And for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, when we went phone-free at the start of last school year. And so for us, phone-free means kids, if they have to bring a cell phone to school, they check it into the office and we keep it for the duration of the day, and then we hand it back to them at the end of the day. And when we were looking at research, there's a quote that stuck out to me, which was that kids have never been more connected and yet never more alone. And what
adults too.
And adults too. And what we saw immediately when we started taking cell phones and smartwatches is that kids were immediately more connected to each other. And we found that even in lockers, it was enough of a sort of social pull that it was sort of disrupting those opportunities for social connection. So it's gone really well for us.
That's great.
You're seeing...
Yeah, we've been phone free. I guess Dummerston kids haven't known what they've been missing because they've been phone free this whole time. And when I came to Dummerston, there was already kind of a system in place for locking phones, in the middle school. And so it's just students don't have that stress. They don't have that that pull of this device that, like you mentioned, even if it's in your locker, is still still a pull. And when students struggle with the expectation, it's really an opportunity, to work with them and their family about how we can support them and seeing some of the benefits of letting your phone go, letting it, some phones live, some phones are down in the hallway in a lockbox and some special phones might live with me in my office. If that makes that student feel safer about the location of their phone. But it's a great opportunity to just explore that with students when they're struggling with that idea. And it's just great to not have it be a part of their experience at Dummerston.
It sounds like it's working, and it's good to bring that back to the legislature, because not everyone stays as connected with the schools as I think they should be, especially if they're going to make policy. So this is something that's working. And is there anything else you think we should be doing in that realm? Like there's the kids code to help stop predatory. This is about the code that they're writing. But trainings, I know I met with a group from the high school, and there was a suicide that was precipitated by some online activity. And they were saying, they were asking for that, and they were saying it should start really early too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest prevention to youth mental health crisis is connection. I think it's more critical now than ever. And so whether that's in middle school and high school, if you have an advisory model or some sort of house model that different schools adopt, we use a model called...
The advisory is the daily meeting of a group?
So at Putney this year, we started what's called a crew model. We call it crew, which is a group of 10 or 11 students and 2 teachers that meet twice a day, sort of bookending the day. And it's just sort of like a family within the school community. And it's been really powerful as a way. And we found like that any opportunity to create that social connection, I think is really critical.
And I think as a state, all of us, whatever we can do to connect, like you said, with young people in person, whether they're your family members, your nephew, your grandchild, your neighbor, to see that we all have the power to do that, to pick up the phone and make a phone call, or volunteer, become a big brother, big sister, volunteer at school, come in, find out how you can get involved in person, because we can reclaim this aspect of our lives. Like we don't have to give it away. We can actually reclaim it and develop in-person relationships with our neighbors, our friends,
Yeah.
the students who go to our town school,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and students want that.
Yeah.
They actually really
Yeah,
love
they
it.
do.
You know, they
Yeah.
love to have
Yeah.
that in-person connection with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So, if people who are not parents want to get connected to the school, you have websites that are people can find you, contact information.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, through our websites.
Yeah.
Yep. We both have leadership councils that
Yeah.
meet once a month, which
Say more about that.
Yeah, so leadership council when the district consolidated to be one sort of Windham Southeast Supervisory Union, each town or each school retained what's called the leadership council, which is a body that's made up of community members, parents, teachers, and administrators, and we meet once a month. And the goal is just to sort of ensure that community values are represented in the school and how the school is being run and operated, and bring voice of the community into decisions that are happening at the school.
And anyone can participate?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they're public
Dummerston-
meetings. Yes.
Yeah.
They're public meetings, so anybody can join.
Yep.
You can come in person. You can come online.
Okay.
Really encourage community members to come to those meetings and participate. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we, at Dummerston, we really reach out to the community to develop collaborations and opportunities for people to come in. We have a collaboration going right now with Dummerston Cares, and we're supporting we're doing a food drive for the Putney Food Shelf.
Yeah.
So our
Yeah.
middle school students have a leadership team that's going to be working on that. And some of the Dummerston Cares people have done, different volunteer actions with our students and formed that in-person relationship. So I always encourage people to reach out to me if they want to have a tour of the school or, want to just talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you for your
you.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time here, and I hope we can spread the word. There's a lot of good happening in our schools, and we have a lot to be proud of in our schools, and it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of hard work and time that goes into that with you, your staff, with the students, with the parents. So I thank you for your work. I celebrate your work, and let's keep moving forward.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
you
Mike.
bet.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for tuning in, and thanks to all the people at BCTV for helping make this work. What's happening in our communities, bringing it to you. So until next time, bye-bye now.